What's up, folks? Appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in. So, why did I take the GED test? Because I had to, unfortunately. So, because I didn't do the right things growing up, I made a lot of mistakes throughout my my early scholastic career. I wasn't able to graduate the right way from high school, so I essentially took a high school equivalency test, a series of tests, and was able to obtain a high school equivalency certificate. And then went on to college. I was able to use that to enroll in Westwood College of Technology, which is basically where I was able to get all my education, my foundation for my IT career, which was great. And everything was good. I had no issues with that for forever. So I was able to obviously move around from a bunch of different companies, and everything was great. And now I'm just at a point in life where I'm kind of thinking about my next move, right? What do I want to do ultimately with my career? Where do I want to go? And with some of the goals that I have in mind, I think it would be a great thing to obtain a MBA degree, right? A Master's of Business Administration. Something that I think would be really cool to check that box, right? Before it's all said and done. I think it'll be a pretty cool achievement. And also I think it may be necessary to get to where I'm going, and I like to have that level of knowledge as well. I know I don't know everything about business, and it's something that I really am interested in. So it just became somewhat of a pretty good or a pretty strong goal of mine that I definitely want to achieve. And so I felt like it's about the right time. I think it's time. Olivia's in school now. She's taking a bunch of classes. It's got me motivated to just kind of learn. I've always been a learner. I've always loved to learn new things. So I'm just kind of ready to go. I got a little bit of free time. Got a pretty cool job that offers some tuition reimbursement. I don't know if it'll work out, but I'm hoping to take advantage of that. So I just figured, you know what, time is right. So I started looking into different schools. What do I need to do? I know all of my credits won't transfer, one for one, because Westwood was a private, not-for-profit or a for-profit organization that wasn't really accredited through the traditional accreditation foundations, but it was still a solid education. So, and they kind of told you that coming through the door, that their credits don't transfer one for one to every single school around the country. So I know I'd have a little bit more work to do, but not knowing that because Westwood about 5 or 7 years ago closed for fraudulent practices and they were kicked out of whatever accreditation foundation they were a part of, that my credits are essentially null and void for any post secondary degree school or even any community college for that matter. So of course I was a little upset about that. I looked into it, and actually there is one community college in Chicago. I believe it's I believe Wright. It's one of the community colleges on the north side, and because the way Westwood closed down, the Attorney General, I believe Lisa Madigan, a few years ago, kind of sued Westwood, and they won a little bit, but because a lot of students were kind of displaced and weren't able to continue their education and their credits were void, a bunch of the city colleges decided to take some of those credits that they felt matched well with their program. And for my computer network management program, Wright College on the north side actually has a few programs that they will take some of those credits. So of course I'm pretty excited about that. I'm like, all right, great. So at least I don't have to start from zero. But actually had to get the GED because, like Westwood, that certificate that I got, they're no longer a part of the accreditation foundation that they were once a part of. So it doesn't really hold the same weight as it did back in that day. So the college doesn't really want to accept it. So that's great, no problem. Take the GED. All right, figure I'm gonna have to study a little bit. It's been a long time since I've been in high school. I'm pretty confident that I'd be able to pass it, but I know I'm gonna need some help with the math. Like, no question, I haven't multiplied and divided fractions, and I've always had an issue with that decimal point to fraction and that kind of shit. So when they're larger numbers. So I'm like, all right, Olivia's actually doing math homework now. We're talking about it. She's telling me how to do things and things that she remembers, and we're just kind of going through it. I'm like, you know what? Let me take a look at some of this GED coursework and see what it looks like. So she actually signed up for it. Did put all my information in, sign me up for your GED website, which they have it laid out pretty well. And she said, hey, they have these practice exams, practice questions, take a look at them. Took a look at the free questions. I'm like, all right, it wasn't anything too crazy, some basic percentages, some word questions. If you have this amount of money and it increased by this percentage over this amount of years, after 5 years, how much money do you have? Things like that. So I'm like, all right, well, that's not too bad. Let me take the practice exam that they have available, and it was about $6. And they say, hey, if this practice exam says that you're ready, then you should go ahead and take the GED exam. So they break it down into 4 tests. There's reasoning for mathematics, reasoning for science, reasoning for social studies, and reasoning for language arts. I was pretty confident that I'd be okay in the other 3, but math I knew I would probably need some help on. So I take the practice exam, and surprisingly, I passed. Right? I said, you are likely to pass the real exam. I believe 145 is passing. I got 155 on that practice exam. So I was pretty happy. Like, all right, cool, I'm ready to go. But I knew there was a lot of questions that I missed. And of course, they give you a section of what you need to work on. So I watched a couple of YouTube videos. I scheduled the test for about 2 weeks out, try to give myself a little time to study and make sure that I'm prepared for the test. And so that's what I did. I watched about 2 or 3 YouTube videos for about 20 or 30 minutes. And then I kind of moved on to a different subject the next day. And I believe it was science. I'm like, let me take the practice exam for science and see how it goes. And I actually scored pretty high, maybe about 175 or something. And all the scores are out of 200. And I'm like, all right, well, I think I'm ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and pay for the rest of these practice exams so I can kind of have a feel for what's on the real test, and I'm going to schedule these tests for as soon as possible. So I take the rest of the practice exams, score pretty well on all of those, and schedule all the tests. I actually moved my math test up for the next day, and after work went and took the math test, or I think it was a weekend actually for the math. On a Saturday went, took the math test, passed. I was pretty happy. I'm like, all right, well, I'm ready to go. Let's get going. I actually passed with the same score that I got on the practice exam, so didn't do terribly well, but hey, I passed, and I was pretty happy about that. So then I scheduled the rest of the exams, the science, social studies, and language arts. Did social studies first, or did science first, passed with I think about a 167 or something. Then did the social studies, passed with somewhere above a 170, which they call college ready. And then took the language arts, which is the longest one. Took about I think it's scheduled for about 2.5 hours. Took me about an hour, a little bit over an hour or so. There's 3 parts. There's 2 questioning pieces, and then there's a writing piece. It's really not that big of a deal. It's just write a 4 or 5 paragraph essay about a passage of like kind of a more of a like 2 different ideas or 2 different opinions in a passage. So it's like on the left side of the screen, it's let's discuss athletes making too much money was one of the passages that I had. One argument was they deserve it. The other argument was maybe we should pay our teachers and public service people and first responders that type of money as well. So, and it's just you write your opinion. So they give you two pretty good ideas to kind of be able to write 4 to 5 paragraphs. It's not really, they're not looking for anything crazy. They just want to make sure punctuation is good, make sure you follow the rules. So they outline the instructions. So that's really what they care about, is write the 4 or 5 paragraphs with 3 sentences each and make sure you have your correct grammar and punctuation and highlight some of the facts from each argument. So not really a big deal. Was able to pass all those, and now I have my official government recognized high school equivalency certificate that no one can take away from me or invalidate as of right now. So with that, I'm going to now start taking some of these gen ed classes that I believe I'm going to have to catch up on, knock some of those out, and start my path on to the NBA. So again, thanks for watching. I appreciate you listening to that quick GED story. If you have any questions, or maybe you want a little bit of help with the GED, or you have some specific questions around the test, while it's fresh in my mind, I'm more than happy to tell you my opinions and my thoughts, or give you a little guidance to help you pass the test if you're looking to get that as well. So, oh, and by the way, The high school diploma thing that I had was from Cornerstone Christian Correspondence School. I'm still hearing people saying that they are going through that for their high school equivalency. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm telling you that it's not accepted at most colleges. So be careful if that's something that you're thinking about going through with. Thanks again, and please subscribe.